Hi, friends. Hello, welcome in. Thanks for joining. I hope you're having a good week so far. Morning, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in, happy time zone. And hopefully, wherever you are, the weather's okay too as we move into fall and autumn like weather. So, let me know what you've been up to. Today, I think we're going to keep it a little bit chill. I'm going to do some watercolor painting. Hi, Jesse. How's it going? Yay! We're back. We're back on Wednesdays. It's been a little while. I did stream on Friday, but it was one of those got back from vacation, just wanted to get back into routine kind of. And so I streamed on Friday just for a bit and thought I should get back on Wednesdays. I just like this sort of midweek breakup of, just getting things done, taking some time and playing with stationery, playing with our inks and paints and stuff like that. So if you can take a break, then I encourage you to take out your supplies and journal or paint or do anything along with me. If you're at work, I'm sorry. Work is important, I guess. But feel free to lurk. Feel free to chat. Feel free to just hang out with me. And if you're watching the replay on Twitch or YouTube, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for being part of this community. And yeah, so we're just going to kind of hang out and chat and just do a little painting. So if you are into painting with watercolor paints or inks or, just any kind of mediums that you can paint with, add water to, then yeah, hopefully this is something that you can just kind of chill and watch and join it if you want. So the one thing I have found, I have been doing a lot of ink painting, so using fountain pen inks, and while I love doing that because I have so many inks available to me everywhere around me, it's kind of nice, right? Reach for some ink. I have them in ink vials, so they're easy to reach for. They're very convenient. They're accessible. But the one thing I have found is that because I'm doing a lot of ink painting, I've kind of neglected my watercolor paints a little bit. And I love watercolor painting. I have a dish of watercolor paint stones, as they're called. Most of them are from Beam Paints. Beam Paints is a Canadian, Indigenous people's small brand. And they're out of Manitoulin Island in Ontario, Canada. So I love them. They're handmade. They're great quality, and they last. And I love that they're very environmentally conscious, and so they try to cut down on the amount of waste that they use, and they tend to reuse things. So a lot of you could get palettes from them that are placed, or these little paint palettes. They're made out of environmentally friendly sourced, wood. So instead of wasting them, they reuse them as paint palettes, and I love that. And the other good thing is if you do use up all the paint, which takes forever because they last for so long. But if you do reuse them, you can just buy little paint, I don't know, little spots or whatever. And then you just drop them in. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I love too that you can just buy individual colors, and they have a wide range of them. So depending on, seasons or, the colors that you like to paint with, I have picked out a few over the years of watercolor painting, and I love their paints. So that's enough about Beam Paints, but that's the paint that I'm using today. So just in case you're where are these paint stones from? They're Beam Paints, and there's this will last for a while. So I love the sizes as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I also have this really cute ceramic. It's a handmade palette made by Sugar House. Also Canadian, but they're East Coast. They're from Nova Scotia. We're located in Nova Scotia. So that's kind of cool. And in terms of paper, I have a fancy sketchbook that I got recently, a Hanemule, and it is high quality paper, high quality sort of built sketchbook. And I got this because I do want to encourage myself to do a lot more watercolor painting. And so this is something I'm going to be using a lot more, especially next year as I get more into sort of just into a routine of painting. So I thought I would use that. But I'm also, hi Needle Girl, how's it going? Welcome in. How are things going with you? I'm also going to be using this blank notebook from Galen Leather made with Cosmo Air light paper, which no longer, I guess they're retiring it. So you may be able to find these notebooks still. I don't know if Galen Leather still has them, but maybe they do. I got this like years ago, at least a couple of years ago, in 2022. And I used it a little bit, but I found that the paper is a little too like shiny textured for me, a little too smooth. And so I didn't really like writing in it. So instead of writing in it or using it as a notebook for notes, I decided to use it for painting. And I have been neglecting this notebook. I tried a little bit of painting in it and I did enjoy it because it handles watercolor paints actually pretty well. Like you could see the crinkling, the warping of the paper a little bit, but I don't mind it. So I only use the one side anyway. So I actually don't mind that it warps the paper, but the cool thing is that it doesn't bleed through. So that's kind of cool. It handles the paint really well. So I decided to set this aside as my like sketchbook, but I haven't really used it that much. So I thought I would dig it back out and paint in it a little bit. And then I'm also going to paint in this watercolor sketchbook because the paper is watercolor paper. So I do want to continue using watercolor paper. And then in the end, we'll compare the paper and we'll see Cosmo Airlight versus watercolor paper. But it is kind of interesting to me. I like to sample papers. I like to use different types of papers just to kind of see what properties they have. I am a very tactile person, so I love texture and I like feeling papers and that kind of thing. So that's why I like using different types of sketchbooks as well. Even if I find that obviously watercolor paper handles paints the best or, really well, that's what it's made for. I also find that notebooks with different types of paper can surprise you. Even though they're touted as fountain pen friendly, they could also handle some painting. So I'm good, Neato Girl. Yeah, so glad you were able to catch a stream too. I'm glad you're here. I know things get busy and work gets in the way and life gets in the way. And sometimes we just don't have time for things. So it's always good when we're able to catch a stream or just hang out for a little bit. So paintbrushes I'm using are Winsor-Newton, just like a round brush. Size 10, so it's actually pretty broad. And then the other one I like is this travel paintbrush from Beam Paints. And you just kind of screw it in. It's a number 4 round brush as well. And I find that it's just a good sort of in between. So it's not too fine, it's not too broad, but it can give, it can put down quite a bit of paint if you want to. So those are the 2 brushes I'm going to play around with. And as I showed earlier, these are my watercolor paint stones from Beam Paints, which is a Canadian brand. I love their palettes, as you can tell. I love how they package everything, and it's really cute and really portable too. So they have these separate sort of paint stones that you can throw into a bag or a container or whatever and paint on the go if you want to, or just kind of have them sitting there on your desk. like I do on my desk, just to remind myself to take them out sometimes. So in terms of swatches, how I do it is just on watercolor paper. Just whenever I kind of get like a palette or get a few paint stones at a time. Usually what I do is I just swatch them on watercolor paper so I know what they look like. The cool thing also about Beam Paints is that they do have shimmer paints. So this is all handmade, natural, with natural ingredients. And so a lot of their paints sort of have like earthy elements to it. But they do also have shimmer inks. And I like swatching them just to sort of, same as fountain pen inks, right? To get a feel for the different properties, what they look like on watercolor paper. And then when I have time to paint, I usually just, I pick out a few colors that I like and paint with them. And sometimes I sift through these swatches because it's fun, right? It's like sifting through fountain pen ink swatches. So I'm just going to set this aside. But for today, I picked out a few colors that I think are kind of fall-ish. So we'll paint with them and we'll see. We'll do some blending and mixing as well because I like to experiment with colors too, just to kind of have fun with them a little bit. And also similar to fountain pen inks, I like to blend and mix a little bit. So let's see. So I think I'm going to start in this Cosmo Air Light notebook. And then we'll do a little bit of painting if we have time in my little sketchbook, which so far I've only had time to do 2 paintings in it, but it's okay. Hopefully we'll get to that as well. So let's start with the lighter colors. So I usually, when I'm painting, I usually start with the lighter shades, and then I can kind of mix and go. And the darker shades are great for layering and blending right on paper. So that's kind of fun to do too. So this one, these 2 I like because they're like fall colors. This one is called Bread, and this one is called something I can't pronounce. Oh, Pumpkin Spice. Pumpkin Spice, and this one is Bread. So it's very seasonal and very very October-ish, I think. So I usually add just a little bit of the color in a palette, because then I can mix it if I want to. So let's see. Let's watch this. That's a really nice color. Yeah, let's watch it there first. And then the second color. Wow, that's a nice color as well. So you can see you can put quite a bit of water on the paint on this paper and it will be fine. It will handle fine. It just kind of sits, because it's smooth and coated, it kind of sits on top of the paper for a little bit. And it might take a little longer to dry. And when it does dry, you will see these ink pools or paint pools, like in ink mode. You'll see these pools of paint. The way they dry, you'll kind of see like, where it's warping the paper a little bit. And again, to me, it's not that big of a deal because I'm just kind of playing with paints right now. So it's kind of nice to see how paints sort of react on this paper. And if you want to use less water, of course, you can use less water, do a little bit of layering as well. So if you do your first layer with, a little bit of water, you can always just dip into the paint itself and then touch your water on the paper, and it will spread out a little bit. And that way you can layer a little bit more dark colors, a little bit more darkness. It's very similar to how you could paint with fountain pen inks. Just by layering and using water to kind of dilute them a little bit. So this one, which is pumpkin spice, is like this really nice mustardy yellow color, yellow orange. So you can mix a little bit in to lighten the orange if you want. And again, if you just directly sort of transfer some of the paint onto the paper that's already wet, so if you have some wet spots here, then you can darken that color a little bit. So this blue is Lake Superior, and it is a lovely bright blue. So if we swatch that, it's just this like deep blue color, which is really nice. So a little bit of layering. I don't think I would add too much of it because I kind of want it to be an accent color a little bit. So maybe just around the sides a little bit. And then maybe a little bit of layering because it's dark, so it would look kind of nice on top of other colors. So I'm just going to distribute the colors a little bit more so that there's a little bit more even distribution. And composition wise, I don't want it to be too oval. So maybe having some of these sort of paint spots or outlines sitting sort of sitting out like this would be fun. And then the fourth color is a shimmery paint called Amethyst. So it is more purpley, purple lavender probably. And I would use this more for accents or layering on top of other colors a little bit, because I like to use shimmer inks and shimmer paints to bring out a little bit more contrast and some interest when I'm looking at a painting. So that's what we're going to do. Just going to add a little bit on the side. It's a sort of muted color, so I don't think it attracts a lot of attention, but once it dries, you'll see the shimmers sort of come through, and it is kind of fun, especially if you layer it on top of other colors. Maybe on the blue too. So that's the amethyst color. And then we have two greens, or actually this is kind of like a yellow lime green sort of color. It's grasshopper, and this one is rainforest. So I thought sort of pairing a dark green and a lime green might be kind of fun. So I'm going to use this bigger round brush to do the foliage or the leaves. So and for that, I'm just gonna use the shape of the round brush to sort of shape and outline those leaves. I'm gonna do it in the corners because I like sort of closing off bouquets by having leaves sort of surrounding them a little bit. I'll swatch this. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of this lime green. It is very lime. Let's add some to this green. Use this brush too. So that's that on the Cosmo Air light paper. So you can see the paints are still kind of vibrant on here, even though you can already see the warping of the paper a little bit, sort of becoming crinkly, and the water's just kind of settling in. So I think once it's dry, it might take a little bit longer than watercolor paper to dry. So I'm just going to put it on my windowsill because that's where I like to dry paint. Or I leave things to dry. So we'll check back in on that one. But on watercolor paper, I think it'll be a little bit faster. And so we'll be able to do a little bit of painting and then drawing on top as well. So similar to before, I'm going to start with the lighter colors. Swatch them. Maybe I'll start with the lightest color, which is this pumpkin spice. So you can see it, unlike the Cosmo Air paper, which you know is coated, so it tends to be nice for fountain pens and fountain pen inks. With paints, and if you add too much water or a lot of water, it just kind of sits there for a little bit as the paper is like trying to sort of soak it in. But with watercolor paper, it absorbs it a lot faster. So you'll have it drying faster, which means if you're going to blend, you might have to do a little bit faster than on the other kind of paper. But you can use a lot of water, so. So these two colors go really well together. I like that palette a lot. So let's use some of this blue. Again, it's a very deep, nice blue. I'm going to add straight from the paint stone just to darken it up a little bit. Maybe add a little in the back. And then this amethyst. Which I think looks a little darker on the watercolor paper, but it's still sort of this light, very light lavender shade, which is kind of nice when you have all these sort of dark colors competing. Ah, that's nice. Again, it's a shimmer, so when this dries, we'll take a look at how shimmery it is. So this is why I like this paintbrush so much, because you can put down a lot of paint if you want, but you can also have a lot more control and precision with it, unlike sort of, these bigger paintbrushes, which you can put down a lot of paint, but it is, hard to control it a little bit. But if you're doing leaves or something like that, where you just want a lot of coverage, then that's fine. I like these paintbrushes for that. Miss Marilyn, darling, how's it going? Thanks so much for the subscription. I appreciate you. How are you today? Wow, so this is like a really dark, really nice dark green. Good morning. You're doing well? Good. Hi, Indy. Good afternoon to you. How are you doing? How's your week going so far? Today I'm just doing a little painting with watercolor paints, because I haven't done that in a little while. So I've been doing a lot of fountain pen ink painting, and I thought, you know what, I should dig out my watercolor paints. So if you're into watercolor painting, or other paints, you do acrylics, let this be a little reminder to dig them out once in a while and play. So here's that lime. Is this like a chartreuse or something, or is it more, so I don't know if it's like lime green really, but it does bring out the sort of yellowish yellow tones, and it's really nice to lighten dark greens up if you have any. And also, is there a fountain pen ink that color? Because it's a pretty bright yellow, right? My normal Twitch stopped streaming completely. Oh no. Aw, so you chose to spend your Prime membership here. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I used to paint all the time just with fountain pen ink, but then I got actual gouache paint. Yes. Why do they have the same thing that dries matte, right? I know, it's kind of odd. I do have I have these paint palettes. So I have these paint palettes from Beam Paints, and there's quite a few of them that I have like a handful of them. But these are like regular watercolor paints. And then I got a gouache palette from them, and you can tell they're like more creamier, if that's the way to describe them. But yeah, they're super, super fun. And the colors go on nice too. Similar but different. Kind of the same, but not the same for sure. Different properties. I do find that as the seasons change to fall and the winter, I tend to sort of move away from the brighter shades, and now I'm going into hibernation mode, which tends to be a little bit darker, a little moodier. maybe earthier too, or at least like muted colors. So yeah, that's where I kind of go now. Oh no, you heat. Yeah, you'd need to get a screw loose. It needs heat to get it unstuck. Could try. Yeah. So what are we making today? Today we're just painting abstract flowers, but I'm using watercolor paints, and I'm using, so this is watercolor paper in a Hahnemühle sketchbook. And then I also did a painting using, or on Cosmo Air Light. Oh, yeah. It's still drying. This was a while ago, like 5 minutes ago. Cosmo Air Light, the Galen leather notebook, which I was saying before that Cosmo Air Light, for me, is kind of too smooth, too coated, too shiny to write on. So I don't necessarily enjoy writing on it, but I do enjoy painting on it. I find because it's smooth, the inks and the paints go down nicer, smoother, easier. So it's easier to blend, and just the experience feels nicer. And so for painting, it's enjoyable. Though I haven't used that notebook in a little while, so I'm trying to get back into it, which, so I'm doing it today. But I also really enjoy painting on watercolor paper, right? Because that's what it's meant for. So, so yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So just doing a little watercolor painting today, I think. I like the color palette you've chosen today. Yeah, I mean, it was a little intentional, but also some of these paint colors I got somewhat recently in the last couple of months. And so they've kind of just been sitting around, and I thought, you know what, I need to paint a lot more with these colors. So I tried to pick out sort of fall, autumn colors, dark and light, to sort of play with the different shades. But yeah, I agree. I like this. I like these colors and how they work together. I love Cosmo Air Light. I have one from, oh, okay. You're a Cosmo Air Light person. In the TN size. Yeah, you can put almost anything on it. Yeah, and I was saying that I was surprised that you can actually paint on it, because even though it kind of sits there, like it's still drying, right? So the paint kind of sits there for a little bit, and then it does warp the paper, right? That is one thing that I did notice, is that when you paint with it, or when you paint on it, you can see the warping that is on the paper because of the water, right? But I was surprised at how it didn't bleed through, like, right? And I use, quite a bit of water. It's not like I use very minimal water. I like to paint on the paper, so testing the paper is kind of nice. I do kind of enjoy where the water pools and then it dries like that, so that's kind of interesting to me, just because of the contrast. But I do find that watercolor paper looks really nice. Like paint on watercolor paper looks really nice. So, oh, you're fixing an old sewing machine, Indy. That's awesome. I don't have a sewing machine. I can't say I've had one for, actually, I had a sewing machine a while back, years and years and years ago. And yeah, it was through my mom, but I never really used it, so. I sew by hand if I'm fixing things. I like nice watercolor paper, like Strathmore is super nice, but I use Canson watercolor paper. It's not that great. Canson watercolor is fine. Like, I know what you mean. I use it all the time too, because I use it and then I move on, right? It's not like I frame it or exhibit or anything like that. So I don't feel like I need to really splurge on high quality watercolor paper. Though I'm sure, you know, if you are like gifting it, or you're doing it professionally, or, you know, you want to frame it or something like that, then it makes sense to use, you know, the high quality stuff. More expensive stuff. Arches paper, yeah, for sure. But, you know, you got a budget for that stuff. So I did, with the sketchbook, I wanted to get something kind of nice. And I like the size, and I like how it's sort of horizontal this way, and then you can sort of close it up. So you can use it whichever orientation you like. So I'm using it vertically, but you could do sort of, you could do for like urban sketching, that kind of stuff. So I kind of like that. But the quality of the paper, for sure, sometimes makes a difference in terms of just if you're, you know, spending a lot of time, or you want it to look super, super nice. You paint seasonal paintings of the season. Yeah, that's awesome. Last year I made a pumpkin and a ghost painting. That's cool. Holiday-ish. Halloween is coming up, and I do like Halloween. My kids love Halloween. I think Halloween is probably, like, it ties as probably one of their favorite holidays, which is, like, you know, kind of funny. I don't think I did too many Halloween things when I was younger, so that's probably why it's not, like, super high on my holiday list of holidays that I really like. But my kids find it super fun, so we've decorated the house. We have ghosts everywhere. And yeah. Things are getting real for Halloween. But also this weekend is Canadian Thanksgiving, so, and also the Empire State Pen Show. If you're going there, have fun. But it is during Canadian Thanksgiving, and I'm making pumpkin tarts, which is like the one thing I like to do every year for Thanksgiving. I also like pumpkin pie, but I feel like the proportion of pumpkin filling to a tart is a lot easier to take because I'm a very, like, I love pastry. I love tarts. I love, you know, feeling like having that texture of like just biting into pastry, or biting into, you know, a soft tart or something like that, crust and stuff. So making pumpkin tarts is like, you know, with a little whipped cream. You love pumpkin tarts, yeah. Thank you. Pumpkin spice everything. Yes, I know. The thing is, I go all in. I don't know about you, but I go all in during fall. All pumpkins, all, you know, pumpkin tarts, pumpkin spice, blah, blah, blah. Because by the time winter rolls around, or, you know, winter in Canada is like November. But by the time you get into November, December, I'm like over pumpkins. So I'm ready to move on. It's just that like 1 month of just all the pumpkin things. Then it turns into peppermint season. Yeah, that's right. Cranberries, peppermint, gingerbread. Yes, then I go all in on gingerbread for December. And yeah, that's how we do it. That lavender color is pretty. Yeah, it is. It's very nice, isn't it? It's like very soft, like soft and muted, which is really nice. So it's the shimmery lavender color. And then I also have this really light purple, or I guess lavender, in this palette. So I was trying to layer them, but I think they're kind of the same shade. So it's all good. But it's cool because when you use a shimmery paint, and you sort of layer it onto other colors. I think I added it on this orange a little bit. And then once it dries, it's like shimmer ink, right? Like the shimmer will be everywhere. That's kind of nice. But it's still pretty vibrant, and you can see all the colors and stuff, how they work together. You love shimmer ink? Yeah. I love shimmer ink and paints to paint with too. I like to layer in some shimmer when I'm painting, even with watercolor paints. I don't know, I just like the sort of secondary properties, I think. That's what it is. So this one's almost dry. And you can definitely see the shimmers, the shimmery inks coming through, or paints coming through. It does take a while to dry. That is one thing. And maybe that's why I stopped using this notebook so much. Because you kind of have to let it sit there, right? Unless you're going to use a heat tool and heat it up a little bit, but that might warp the paper even more. Yeah, heat tool. Yeah, I know. The thing about that, though, is that it really does heat up the paper. And so I'm not a huge fan of that. But I do have blotter paper. And sometimes if I get too impatient, I'll end up blotting it a little bit. And actually, there's only a little bit of ink or paint that's still dry. There's a few pools of paint. So maybe let's give that a go. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's pretty much dry. It didn't take too long, I guess, in the end. Just some of the paint that pooled. But look at that shimmer paint. This one. The blue is nice too. This one. It's a shimmery deep blue, and then we have a shimmery lavender lilac color. So you can kind of see that. Yeah. Can't stand the smelly inks. They bleed on everything. Yeah. So let me get since this is dry, we can draw on top of it. Let me get my Kakimori nib and my ink. So that's the Kakimori pigment ink. Let's move that over here. And the Kakimori stainless steel nib. So this looks really nice on Cosmo Airlight too, because you'll see the sort of shine, and it sits really nicely on top. It's nice and dark too. And because it's not textured paper, one dip of the pigment ink actually lasts for quite a bit. And just in case you're wondering what it feels like to draw with the Kakimori nib on top of watercolor paint, so not fountain pen ink, but actual paint, it's pretty smooth, but once in a while I'll feel a little bit of scratchiness, I guess, because of the grains of the watercolor paint. Because it's made from natural materials, it tends to be a little textured, so it's not super smooth, which I kind of like though, because it feels earthier. And so when you're drawing on top, especially with like watercolor paint or fountain pen ink, when you're drawing on top with fountain pen ink, you want the texture to be a little bit smoother, but most of it is. Especially because the paper is pretty smooth. So you can see how it glides. The pigment ink glides on top of the watercolor paint. Just sort of sits on top, so. And because it's pigment ink, it's really nice and dark and stands out. It doesn't bleed into or reactivate the paint. It just kind of sits on top and dries dark and vibrant. So that's kind of nice. So we'll let that dry too. And this is dry. Yeah. So there's a little bit of graininess in the watercolor paint just because it's made of sort of natural, earthy elements. So Magical Quill, hello, hello. Love the way the ink is layering there, right? It's really fun to see. And it's different than if you sort of use different elements and things in different mediums. So it's kind of fun to play with, you know, what ink, like pigment ink, looks like layered on top of regular paint or watercolor paint. It's kind of nice to see that. And on Cosmo Air Light paper as well. What kind of black ink? It's the Kakimori pigment ink. That's my go-to for when I use the Kakimori nib too. Whoop. It's out of screen. The Kakimori black pigment ink for when I draw on top of ink or paint, just because the pigment ink is really strong. It's very bold, so it's easier to see. It doesn't blend in too much, so it's my go-to when I'm using the nib to draw with. because the watercolor paper is textured, it's more noticeable when you're drawing on top of it with a nib, like the Kakimori nib. And so you can feel that texture, right? Like the ridging and stuff. You can hear it too. And in terms of ink and how it's laying it down, right, you get these sort of bold strokes, and then it sort of tapers off a little bit, and then you get another sort of little splotch of ink going down. That's why I like sort of sketching with it or drawing with it, because I like those uneven lines. But also if you're angling the holder a different way, you can sort of control how much ink is being put down a little bit. But in terms of drawing on top of watercolor paint, again with pigment ink using a nib, it's a lot more textured, not just because of the paper being watercolor paper, but also because of the paint. So you have watercolor paper, paint sitting on top of it, and when you take a nib to that, you can definitely feel it. There's feedback. And if you're not a feedback type of person, then it might feel a little uncomfortable. Or again, you can hear it too, the sort of scratchiness. But it's a Kakimori nib, so it can handle it. But I do like these bold lines, like I said before, where, you know, you have uneven lines, but they're like very bold and just stand out on their own, right? Like I put down quite a bit of paint in different colors and blended and this and that, and putting pigment ink on top of that makes it stand out. You can still sort of see those shades and those colors and stuff, but now it's like, oh, it's a little anchored, I think, in my mind anyways, when I'm looking at it. It's like, okay, these colors make a little bit more sense, I think. Hopefully. Yeah, and the shimmer is still coming through. It looks almost like it's feathering, probably. It is. I think what it's doing is it's sort of spreading along the paint that's already on there. So I feel like in some way it's reactivating the paint a little bit and moving along what's on top there. And some of the paint is pretty smooth. Like I think the shimmer paints are a little bit smoother than the regular sort of standard paints. And I think what happens there is that's why we see a lot of those bold lines on the blue, especially. And where I sort of layered the shimmering paints. I think that's what's happening there. But yeah, it's kind of fun to see too. Layers on layers, basically. Let's wipe my nib. Bubbling together, yeah. Perhaps a finer nib for the black might be in order. So that's still drying. This is still sort of drying. It's almost dry. So it has sort of dried in the broad lines that were put down. So that's kind of cool. It's not fading as it dries, is what I mean. Because sometimes, you know, when you put down ink and it's like nice and vibrant and dark and bold, sometimes when it dries, it sort of loses that boldness a little bit. and it kind of blends in with the rest of the colors. So it's kind of nice. It could be to the paper, but it all just works nicely together, I think. So it's sort of fun. I also think it's interesting that on Cosmo Air Light and then on watercolor paper, the paints are still vibrant. Like, you're not losing a lot of vibrancy, considering watercolor paper is meant to bring out those paint properties. And Cosmo Air Light is, you know, more fountain pen friendly than, I wouldn't necessarily call it like a paint sketchbook, but for me it kind of is, because it just handles paints really well. So I'll show you the other side. So you see a little bit of the water spots, which will dry, but there's no bleed through. Probably the little bit of show through you see here, maybe a little bleed through, is where I put that spot of pigment ink on top of paint. That's like the little tiny spot that's like bleeding through, right? And that was like, yeah, that's quite a bit. That's a lot. That's like taking a Sharpie to a paper. But yeah, the rest of it, as I was painting too, I was thinking, you know, I don't know, I might be putting a lot of water in this, but it turned out fine. I was using as much water as I was on watercolor paper. Right, and obviously watercolor paper is fine. And even the warping is actually not too bad. Like, that's not super warp. But I would, personally, I would only use one side. Like, I wouldn't go on this side and paint anything else. I would just stick to the one side. But yeah, this was when I used ink, and it was a little bit, you could see it on the other side a little bit there, but that was painting with inks. And I think this ink specifically is a little bit more, I don't know if you've used it before, but it's a little bit more pigmenty, I think. To me, anyways, it sort of comes across that way a little bit. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a pigment ink. So, yeah, it's the same with when I did this piece. I put a lot of paint down and nothing bled through. So, it's surprising. This paper, this notebook, surprises me. It's like, what? How is that possible? Quite a bit of coating, I guess, but you know, it's not like a super thick paper, right? Like a watercolor paper, it's not that thick. But it just kind of handles those inks and those paints. So that's kind of nice. Yeah. So I don't know if I have a preference in terms of which one I like better. Experience-wise, I felt like Cosmo Air Light was very smooth to paint on. So it just felt like it was going down really nicely. It was like, it sort of sat on top of the paper without absorbing right away. And so it gives you a little bit more time to blend and move it around with water if you need to. Whereas with watercolor paper, it does dry a little bit faster, and so you have to move a little faster if you're blending and you're mixing colors, especially if you're doing it on paper. But I love the vibrancy of it. I love how all the properties are kind of reflected back, even as they dry. You can still see that like shimmer in the lavender lilac color, right? So that's kind of nice. And even here where there's sort of, you know, where the paint is pooling, it's still pretty nice. I kind of like that look a little bit. Like you can sort of see a little bit more clearly in the leaves where, yeah, it does kind of look like feathering a little bit, but it's also, you know, where the ink is sort of pooling on the paper. Zodiac! How are you doing, Bart? I saw this new guy on TikTok. He paints a painting of a daylight scene and overlays UV light. Whoa, and then overlays that with light reactive ink. I feel like that's a lot, but sounds very cool. Yeah. Yeah, it is cool though. It's a great reminder to, like, you know, I sort of set these paints aside because I have a lot of fountain pen inks around me that I need to play with and I need to use. And, you know, when I do have time to paint, I tend to just grab a few vials of inks. But it's nice to change up your medium a little bit. Even though I use the same techniques, the same kind of process of how I create art, how I play with with the different mediums and with the different tools. And then I do end up using, you know, similar sort of tools to draw. But it's kind of a nice shift and a nice change from the everyday of using, you know, the same kind of tools and the same kind of mediums. You have another bottle of ink for me? It's too light for writing. Amazing, Bart. That's awesome. I wish I was going to the Empire show this weekend, but have fun. Have fun at the show without me. There are going to be a lot of fun people there, and some great vendors. So if you are going to New York for the pen show, check out Zodiac Pen. I'm sure your table will be busy, Bart. As it always is. The last time I saw you do one of these, I tried one of these with my brush pens. It didn't turn out very good. Well, I'm glad you tried it though, because I sometimes see, you know, people do different things with their supplies, and I'm kind of like, oh, well, maybe I could try it with, you know, something else. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but it's also the process of doing it that is like very enjoyable, and it's very creative, right? It's just the process of playing with your creative supplies. So you can only tell your leaves. So it's very abstract. That's what it is. That's why I always call my art abstract florals, because hey, if you can't see flowers in that, then it's very abstract. That's the point. It's calming and creative. Yeah, it's calming. It really is. Like, you get kind of lost in the painting and stuff. And then I get mesmerized in like looking and studying the colors after, and the different paints and inks that I used. Because then I'm thinking like, oh, you know, this palette is really nice. Like, what else could I add to it? Or what kind of fountain pen inks do I have that match this palette a little bit, right? Because then I'll pull them out if I have them and paint with them. Because I can already tell this is very like fall-ish tones, which are really nice. And sometimes you don't think some of the colors will go together because, you know, they're like, you have dark, light, purples, blues, whatever, but it's kind of fun to play with them and see. And they might surprise you. Spicy, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a little bit. Nice drawing, thank you. Yes, I was painting with watercolor paints, which is a little bit different than my usual sort of fountain pen inks. So I was using beam paints, paint stones they're called. And so they're just these little tubs of hard paint. And that's the palette. which I for sure thought I would throw off with this really bright chartreuse sort of lime color. But it ended up being fine because it's a lot more yellowish, I think, especially when you're painting with this kind of palette. It brings out a lot more of the yellow than it does the lime green. These past few days I've been obsessed with a game, so we've been out in the wild. That's okay. You're having fun. I do something called an ink down, where if a sample I own has less than a ml of ink, I splat them down on paper and wash them out with water. Yeah, it makes abstract art for sure. That's a great way of using up inks that, one, you can't put it into a pen because it's so minimal. And, you know, it's not worth sort of having it sit there and not do anything with it, right? So it is kind of fun to play with inks that way too. And also paints, because as they kind of sit there, it's like, you know, you can have your paint sit there and gather dust, or you can take them out and you can play with them and see what comes of it. Oh, you're blowing things up. Yeah, nothing better than getting your angst out, right? Well, that's so funny. Oh, yeah. Or dry out. Yeah, for sure. Your ink could, your ink could lose its moisture and just become crystals. So, super saturated colors of your ink. You love Minecraft. Yeah, that's fun. I know games are kind of fun. For sure. For sure. I have been listening to audiobooks lately, so when I'm not doing artsy things, I'm listening to audiobooks. But I recently put Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring audiobook narrated by Andy Serkis. And I put that on hold at the local library, and it was like weeks wait. But if you have Libby, here's a tip. Once in a while, they do what's called a skip the line. And so if you have something on hold and it's like, you know, months of waiting or whatever, once in a while, if you go into Libby, it'll have this 4-leaf clover, and you can skip the line and basically take that out, like take it out, and you'll have it for 7 days. And so you if you do see that, keep in mind, if it's a long book like Lord of the Rings, you have 7 days. And so I am just blowing through 22-ish hours of Lord of the Rings. And I think I have 5 days left. It's all good. I listen on, I sort of up the speed a little bit. So I listen at a faster speed than it would be regularly. And so that sort of shortens it a little bit. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. I read that book when I was a teen. Yeah, I read it a long time ago. Probably around the same time. And I kind of forgot the details of the books because, you know, they don't put everything in the movies. So I was kind of like, oh, who are these characters? But Andy Serkis does such a good job of narrating because he does all the voices, and it's so interesting to listen to. So that's what I've been doing. And yeah, I'll get through it in 5 days. Don't worry. Yeah. That book is long, I know. The last book I read was The Artist's Way. It's brought new creative perspective to mind. Yeah, I like The Artist's Way. I read that 3 years ago. And the one thing I have kept up in that sort of method or, you know, creative process is doing the morning pages. And even though I don't force myself to write, I think it was 3 pages a day or something like that, I do the ritual of, like, I have a coffee, I sit down first thing in the morning, write down unfiltered thoughts. I don't worry about grammar or spelling or whatever. And I don't sort of, keep my train of thought. I just write down whatever comes to mind. And I have to say, I've been doing that for a couple of years, and I have found a difference in just feeling like after I do that, I just kind of feel like a weight has been lifted in terms of like just not having these thoughts, like worries and random sort of things that I hyperfixate on, mulling around in my mind all day. And so I did enjoy that book. I did enjoy also trying the process and then picking what sort of worked for me and in my routine. So I had the version that had all 3 in one. Oh, wow. That is a big book. Yeah, you listen to yours fast too. Have you read Harry Potter 7 or have you read Harry Potter in the movies, for example? Yes. Yeah, I have read all the books a long time ago when they first came out. And yeah, I found the same. And I don't know about you, but I tend to prefer books over their movies for most. And that's because they obviously have to, shorten it, and they have to make it so that you can sit and watch it. So I do find a lot of times when I read books and they're made into movies or TV shows or series, I kind of find that, I don't know, I go into it expecting to like it less than I like the books. And I'm a book person, so I really do enjoy reading, about characters, about worlds that they're in and stuff, and imagining that. And so it's never, it's never really the way that you imagine it when it is put on screen, I guess. So yeah, for me, I'm always like, what? This is not how it happens in the books. But it is what it is. Morning pages, yeah. I rename them the daily pages because sometimes I don't get up in the morning. Yeah, I actually just call them stream of consciousness journaling, even though it's really long. So SOC for short in my lineup. It's stream of consciousness because then I can do it throughout the day if I need to, especially if you don't have time in the morning, right? To do, to sit down and journal. I have kids running around and expecting breakfast. So I don't always have the time to sit down, write for a couple of pages or whatever it is. And so sometimes I find that just like in the middle of the day when I feel like I have a lot of thoughts going on, or I just kind of feel like I'm focusing on things that maybe I don't need to. Planner season, for example, right? We were kind of like obsessed with like, did I pick the right books for next year? Or should I try something new? And then you see other people trying things and you want that as well. And that just spirals, right? That just gets you into this like spiral of thoughts about planners and stuff. And yeah, that's when I take out my stream of consciousness notebook and I'm just like, just write it all down and then move on. I say that to myself. Every writing I write profanities. I love that, Spicy. You're just like, get it out. And then you blow things up in your game. So you know what? It makes a lot of sense. Books over movies always. Yeah. I also find I need to read the book first too. Carol, yeah. I agree. If I watch a movie and I know that it's a book, I find it hard to do it that way. Like I find it hard to go from watching the movie then reading the book, because then I know I'm probably going to like the movie a little bit less. But at the same time, like if I really liked a movie, I kind of want to know a little bit more about the storyline than what they can portray in the movie. And so I do end up sometimes reading the book. But if I know something is going to be a movie or is a movie, I like to read the book or books. Because I know there's going to be so many details and, just character development and stuff that they can't spend a lot of time on. So I haven't read a book for fun since 2004. They're mostly medical journals or learning about medicine. Yeah, I mean, when you have to read research material and things that have some sort of meaning in your life, it's still a good thing. Like I like reading things where I'm learning something or I can take something away from it. So don't get me started with thoughts about planner season. Tell me, what are your thoughts about planner season? How is everyone's planner season going? What about when you ask someone to help you find a new planner and they just forget about you? Zodiac pen, we have to talk because here's the deal. I think sterling ink. So Zodiac pen, Bart needs a monthly spread, like just monthly layouts. And I think sterling ink, where they have booklets like for just monthly layouts, just for weekly layouts, etc. I feel like that's perfect for you. But here's the thing. Karina, I'm going to throw Karina under the bus a little bit. But Karina ordered sterling ink planners and then decided not to go with them because of customs and duties, fees, basically, shipping fees. So what we're seeing is Canadians who are ordering from American brands are paying more in shipping, or, you know, if you do know what your shipping fee is going to be, which is great, you know, whatever, it is what it is. What ends up happening is as it gets through customs, they're like, oh, guess what? You know, you owe another whatever. And those surprise fees are not fun, right? Like you can't budget properly and all of a sudden you're paying so much more for a book, for a planner. So Bart, you're going to have to order this by yourself. Because yeah, but I still think, I still think the sterling ink monthly booklets are great for Bart and for people who just like, you know, just the monthly layouts or just the weekly layouts, and you don't need a hefty book like a Hobonichi cousin. Just gonna throw that there. Yeah, spicy movies sometimes ruins the books. Sometimes, actually. Sometimes. Yeah, you can accept them as different things. That's good. Inky, you're in your orange ink era. That's awesome. Wearing ghouls are good inks. You're not gonna do Hobonichi again? That's your that is your planner thought. No Hobonichi. Yeah, you found Kimbor. It's half the price. Yeah, I have heard of Kimbor. I haven't tried them, but Stalogy has a monthly only book, but it seems insanely expensive as a price per page. Stalogy paper, I am sort of in the middle. Like I feel medium about Stalogy paper. I don't love it. I don't hate it. And I find it somewhat consistent. Like I think it's okay for fountain pens. It's fine. I haven't really had an issue. I just feel like the writing experience is, you know, you either like it or you don't kind of thing. So, but if it's really expensive, then I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it per se. Oh, that's awesome, Spicy. I've been using the ink Brad sent me, and you're loving it. That's awesome. You want 160 GSM arch. Yeah. Yeah. 160 GSM. That is hefty paper. Even though Brad paid everything, I've been hit by surprise fees. Yes. Because you're in Europe, right, Spicy? So you got those you got those customs fees. It's not fun. It was more expensive than what was worth. Oh no. Yeah, not a Brad because he obviously like he paid everything that he needed to pay or was asked to, right? It's when it gets to you and customs is like, "Oh, you know, it's coming from here," and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you gotta, and it's the admin fees that kind of annoy me. the admin fees of the brokerage, or the brokerage fees. Or you're kind of like, I have to pay this much, and then on top of that, it's, yeah. And then you add it to the total worth of the package, or like if it's a gift or something, where you're kind of like, why am I paying this much for something that's marked as a gift, right? Yeah. How about Midori or Tien monthly calendar? Oh, those are good. Those are good options too. Cream paper, or Tien monthly calendar. Depends on what size you want, Bart. Everyone in chat is problem solving for Bart. I love it. I don't like Stalogy papers. Yeah. I personally wouldn't say I don't like Stalogy papers, but I know where you're coming from. It was kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of lukewarm about it, I think. I do have Stalogy notebooks, and I have used them, but yeah, it's kind of like, it's okay. You're scared about the new TR Tomoe River? I haven't heard a lot about it. I think I've seen I've seen a few people do paper tests and pen swatches and things like that. And I think sort of the general thought is that it has improved and that it can handle fountain pen inks a lot better than it did with the inconsistent paper this year. But I want to see where it's at, like, overall, right? And I don't know if we'll kind of see that at a larger scale until January, when people actually dive into their books and use them every day. Because I think part of the problem this year was just the inconsistency between, like, the daily page from today and tomorrow. Like, how's that possible? Or like chunks of, sections of paper where they have bleed through or feathering or whatever. And I don't know if we'll end up seeing that until early in 2026. And I'm hoping that it is fixed and that people don't have issues, because it's just so sad when you spend so much on planners and it's not what you thought it was, right? And it's fine. You can switch pens, sure, but it's not the pen you wanted to use, and it's not, right? Like, it's not the experience that you wanted to have. So I understand the hesitation and the disappointment from this year and hesitation into next year. And probably also why I didn't get any Hobonichi planners for next year that I could use for other things, right? Like memory keeping or journaling, which I did this year, or for 2025. But I didn't for next year because, I don't know if I want to put myself through like just feeling disappointed or anything. So I'll be in the background hoping and cheering people on, hoping that the paper is okay. You got stuff coming from Canada and never got charged? Oh, I'm so glad, Spicy. Customs always does this. Sometimes they won't, and sometimes they will. Yeah, I know. And I don't know if it's so much a threshold of how much it's worth, like how much the package is marked as worth. Or if, like, if it's kind of like close to an amount and they just kind of let it through. So I don't know how they flag these things, but I feel the same. And it's like things coming from the US sometimes up here. Like sometimes we end up having to pay, taxes and things. And sometimes we don't. It just kind of goes under the radar, which is nice because, things are not cheap, right? Yes, planners are not cheap, and I'm not rich either. That's exactly it. A5 Zodiac. So not Tien. Midori does Midori have the A5 monthly? But it's cream paper, right? So what kind of paper do you like? But yeah, Sterling ink. I don't know who else has like A5 monthly booklets. Yeah, that's not too costly either. Do you use digital to-do and planner? No, I don't. Having them is convenient. Yeah, I use my phone calendar very minimally, and the Notes app very minimally because I used it a lot when I first had my kids, because I obviously didn't have a lot of time to sit and write things or use planners and paper notebooks. I only had my phone on me most of the time. And so I would put everything into my phone. Every day I would open up my Notes app and just, put in notes for the day, things I had to get done, all those things, lists and stuff. And when my kids got to an age where I could have notebooks or planners and spend a little bit of time in them, I found that I really did not want to use my phone. And so it was kind of like where I was like, I'm just not going to use my phone for this stuff because I'm already on, social media and all those things. And I just really don't want to use digital tools to keep myself organized and productive and stuff. And so I try not to use my phone for like planning and stuff. But you're right, though. It's very convenient, right? Especially like if you're using digital calendars for work or, for your life, to stay on top of appointments and schedules and stuff. So I totally get it. But I personally like to keep it analog if I can. I did buy a new Hobonichi notepad. Oh yeah, I did buy from local stores, from local shops. I bought 2 notebooks, an A5 and A6 Hobonichi notebook, the A5 horizontal notebook, and then the papers, which I have right here. The squirrel papers. If you didn't see this, it's so cute. But this is not TRP. This is like just really smooth paper. So I know that, it is what it is. I also wish Hobonichi made an A4 size Hobonichi. That would be humongous. If a planner uses Airful, I refuse to buy it. Oh, hand oils. I can't say I've used any, I don't have any Airful notebooks. I did get some refills for ring binders with Airful paper just because I want to try it out. And I haven't tested it too extensively, if I'm being honest, but yeah, it kind of has that shiny texture that you would think of Cosmo Air Light or something like that, similar-ish. Use a Google Calendar and Microsoft. Yeah. Yeah, it is really cute, right? Gamma Gamma! How's it going, friend? Oh my god, these colors, right? Are they fall or are they fall? Airful is pretty, but you're going to touch the planner a lot. Yeah, it does depend. I mean, planners are meant to be used a lot and handled. And if the paper doesn't handle, hand oils too well, then... But, Eric, how are you doing? Look at this. As it's now fully dry. Oh, I think this is still drying. Wow. This is what pigment ink is like on watercolor paper. It takes forever to dry, kind of. I think it's just that one spot, but I'll leave it. But yes, these are watercolor paints that we painted with today. How cute, right? And now we're just talking about planners and notebooks and how is what are you using as a planner? Do you want to share, or what's your intention? What's your plan? You don't have to share what you're actually going to use if you don't want to, but what are you looking at? Airful is pretty. Yeah, I've gotten so used to using rubbing alcohol to clean my hands. You have no hand oils. Well, that's one way to do it. Doing good. Just got an old iPad up and running. That's awesome. Oh, you're looking forward to twitching while working. Of course. As one does. Well, I'm glad your old iPad is running, because you never know with like older technology, especially with, iPads and things. They're like, they only last for an X amount of time before they're just outdated. They cannot keep up. Recently, if I play a game or read a book, I write my experience on a separate notebook. Yeah, that's awesome. So it's kind of like a media journal or something. That's actually what I used a Sterling ink N2 or week size for this year, is more like interest-based journaling or tracking even. So when I read a book, like when I started a book, finished a book, some quick notes about the book, and then also fountain pens, like currently inked, every month, new inks that I got, new pens that I got, that kind of stuff. And then also in that planner / journal, I write down like podcasts or, audio that I consume. Because I like to, if you don't know this about me, I like to listen to true crime podcasts. I'm very much into true crime. And so I listen to various podcasts, and so I like to write notes and like, names and things like that. Just like, I don't know. It's like facts and dates and stuff like that. And I like to take notes about these things that I listen to. So yeah, it's kind of like a media journal type of thing. I'm going to use CVS caliber loose leaf paper for my journaling. Oh, 450 pages. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this one I'm surprised is still working. Holds a charge pretty okay too. Yeah, that's good. If you can watch a stream on it, right? Because that's like if you're doing something that's using up the battery and stuff like that. Murder shows and Christmas movies. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. I know. You're you're either slaying or slaying. That's amazing. I love that part. Oh, so good. That's like the that's like the slogan of the season. Oh, yeah. I know. Murder Christmas movies. Put those together. That's the best. Yeah. So, what else? Oh, speaking of Hobonichi, let's move a couple of these things. This is the this is something new that they released this year, or for 2026. And it's the A5 horizontal. So I was like super curious about this because I love the size. I do like A5, but A5 horizontal is like really cool, right? Like it's a great, just a notebook to have, especially if you're using your keyboard or whatever, and having something that's like sitting horizontally is useful, I think. So instead of planners from Hobonichi, I did get some notebooks, and I feel like they'll be super useful. I don't know, like, yeah, I know. You're a little upset with Hobonichi because of how they dealt with things, and that is totally understandable because, yeah, it was, yeah, it's really interesting. Yes, that's a Hobonichi. It's a Hobonichi horizontal A5 notepad, or notebook. Like it's bound like a notebook, and it's grid, but the grid is slightly bigger than their regular grid notebooks. So, let me show you. Where is my... So like this is it's just like an A6 grid notebook, right? And they have these grids. They're all, or not they're all, but I think there's 4 sections of colors, right? So the grid color is different depending on what section you're in. And this notebook is all one color grid. It's all this sort of blue color. And the grid size is slightly bigger. Like, I say slightly, but it's like noticeably bigger. Right? So if you are, like, if you've tried to use one of these grid notebooks, it's really small grid. Is it like 3.7 millimeter? And this is probably 4 maybe. I don't know. I haven't actually measured it. But it's slightly bigger grid, so you can write bigger if you're writing notes. You love a grid. I love grids. I don't like massively big grids either. Like I can write I like these notebooks. I can write in these grids. But I just found it interesting that, you know, it's an A5 horizontal, which is a new like orientation for them. And it's grid, but it's like all just one uniform color grid, and it's slightly bigger. So you love the tiny grids, Indy? I'm used to 0.5 grid. Yeah, then you have space to write in. You found the grid too small. Yeah. Yes, top bound, right? Like, so if this is like an A5 notebook, but it's top bound, so it's horizontal. Or, I mean, it's because the cover is horizontal oriented. Horizontal orientation. But, I mean, technically, you could use it this way, right? Like, you could use it as a top-bound notepad. And just have the cover like this. It's fine. That's a wide notebook, yeah. I write tiny too, so there you go. Yes, I know. If you have tiny writing, then it's totally fine, right? The grid size is like, yeah, this is okay. Like, have you seen the grid in, there's like the plotter grid refill, right? And I think that's like 2 millimeter or something. Like, it's really small. So I end up writing, like, I use up 2 lines to write because otherwise it would just be so tiny. I can't read things back. For drawing, it looks great. Yeah, could be. Let's see. Yeah, so I did get an A6 and A5 grid notebook because I love my grids. Eric is right. I love my grids. They're just great as like daily kind of notebooks, but nothing dated. I do have a Hobonichi 5-year. This is the 2nd year of that 5 years, so I have a few more years to go. So I don't really need anything else that's dated, I think. So yeah, that's where I kind of stand. So what else do you want to talk about? I have a few more minutes. Or do you want me to show you anything else? In terms of 2026 dated stuff, planner stuff, planner related stuff, the only thing I got was the plotter A5 diary refills. So that's going to be my planner. That's going to be my everyday catch-all scheduler planner, where I put all my appointments and stuff like that. And yeah, I think I'm happy with it. I like plotter paper. The DP paper is like slightly off-white, so it's kind of in between like Hobonichi, like TRP white and Midori cream. And I kind of like that. and it handles fountain pen inks really well. Like, I haven't had an issue with the paper. I've also done light painting on it, so I have tested it out, and yeah, I've enjoyed the paper. So I'm sticking to something that performed really well for me this year, and I'm not gonna stray too much. Have you done tests on the Hobonichi? Not yet. And also because the notebooks are slightly different than the planners, because the paper, the source of the planner paper, or the paper that they use in the planners, could potentially be a different batch than the papers that are used in the grid notebooks. And so it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. Like, potentially, if they had leftover paper from the kind that they used for 2025 planners, potentially they could use it for grid notebooks, and you wouldn't know unless you were using it and saw the inconsistencies. But I'm hoping that they kind of left it with the planners and kind of moved on, fixed the issue or worked it out, and that all the paper for 2026 is consistent to what is going to be in the planners. So that's my thinking about the notebooks and the notepads, is even if they use TRP, it may not be the exact same batches as the ones they're using for the planners. So but I will use them and test them. I just won't be able to say that if the paper does perform really well, that it will be the same experience in a Hobonichi planner, like a cousin or, something like that, the A6. So, yeah, painting on Hobonichi paper. I mean, I've done it before have I done it in the 2025? I think I've done it on 2025 paper in their grid notebooks. That was for this year, and I didn't find an issue. So, it seemed to be a little bit more concentrated on the 5-year for 2025, as well as some of the planners. And I think that was kind of just like an overall Sanzen issue. Because even though the inconsistency wasn't as predominant in like Sterling ink planners, who they also use TRP Sanzen, and other companies, I did hear that there were some planners that were inconsistent, and then I think there was one or two planner brands that sort of shared that they moved away from Sanzen this year because the samples that they got just seemed a little like not as great or something. And so I think what you'll find is there's a little bit more choice in papers for next year. Some of the smaller planner brands are testing out different types of paper. So Spicy, stay away from the Aerofull planners because I think there will be at least one or two sort of out there in terms of using different types of paper. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. It'll be interesting to see. And I'd love to hear, like, if you do use or have Hobonichi or any other planner brands that use Sanzen or, new to you fountain pen paper. I'd love to hear your thoughts because, it's kind of good to know, like, what's going on with paper in our community. And hopefully it'll all be okay and it'll work itself out, but we'll see. We'll see. Yours has been terrible. I've had to do many tip-ins. Ugh, that sucks. Yeah, just use a normal notebook. I know, it's really too bad. And hopefully it's not an issue that you have to deal with next year, for sure. So. Yeah, planner season. It's always like... Will anyone in the chat be either at the Empire show or the Colorado show? That'd be so fun. If you are there, have so much fun. Um, like I said, it's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend, so I will be having pumpkin tarts and all sorts of yummy Thanksgiving food. But we will miss you at both. Oh, I know. I will miss you. I'll miss you all. I find that, like, if you go to a few pen shows, there's kind of, recognizable faces and familiar faces that make pen shows a little bit more community based and a lot more, personal, and you can sort of build on relationships as you, chat online or whatever. And then have like in-person hangouts and stuff. And I find that pen shows are a great place to sort of have these community-based meetups and stuff. So yeah, it's always sad when you're not going, right? Like FOMO is a real thing when it comes to pen shows, for sure. But hoping to make Columbus. How many more pen shows? Does anyone actually know how many more pen shows there are until the end of the year? And then it sort of kicks off again, right? Starting like, I don't know, January, February, right? California pen shows, February, something. And then it's like just into the next year of pen shows and events, stationary events. Blackberry jam. Is that what you bring to pen shows, Needle Girl? Sounds so good. Yeah, I need to make more blackberry. We have a lot of blackberry bushes here, which the bears love. Wild blackberry, like across the street, just all kinds of blackberry bushes. Yeah. We have the Empire, Colorado, and Ohio. Okay. Or peach or raspberry. Oh, yum. Olive Octopus. Hi. About 3 months until Philly, which will be your next show. 3 months. Wow. Right? That goes by fast. Bourbon peach was no slouch. What? Bourbon peach sounds right up your alley, Bart. Especially if we drive, it's easy. Yeah. Adam has something against Philly in January. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can. I feel like when you're sort of planning for pen shows or events for next year, it sort of seems like so far away, like 2026 seems so far away, but then it creeps up. Like I felt that way about the California Pen Show this year. January just flew by, and then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, I need to actually like pack and, prepare. And yeah, it's like before you know it, right back into pen show season. Sometimes I swear being nice doesn't do it. Yeah. I don't blame him. Oh, spicy. You gotta ask these people to leave. I feel like I get it in and out before winter fully hits when I go there at Christmas. That's the strategy. Will I be at SF in 2026? We're hoping to be, and I can bring you jam. Yes. I'm planning on it. So unless something happens that, knock on wood, things always happen. But unless something, happens where I can't make it work, or, something else happens, then, but I would like to, and yes, jam sounds so good. I'll usually at the SF show, it's hard to get food there, right? Like unless you're going to a restaurant or you like order something or you go to Target or something and like stock up on groceries. Usually I have like my granola bars and stuff, kind of like Eric. And I kind of just go by with granola bars, which is not that great, right? But if I had jam, I could just at least get toast. Right, Eric? We could have toast with jam. That's at least better. It would taste better too. I do it every week, and something being nice doesn't do it. Yeah, spicy. You're gonna have to get spicy, I think. For events, always have backup food on hand. Yeah, my backup food is always granola bars. And I find that on busy days, like for me, busy is when I teach workshops and there's like, 2 or 3 workshops in a day. I'm not a vendor or anything. That's a different type of busy. But what I end up doing is like wanting to skip lunch just because not only are you just sort of like, trying to get through the day and there's so much happening. I find that I just run on adrenaline. Like I'm just sort of on this like, I'm at a pen show high. And you're meeting people and everything's like very stimulating. And I find that I just like don't want to eat. Which is not good, but like you're just like constantly on the go. And so you forget and you don't want to make the time for it. And yeah, so granola bars are kind of my way of like, at least I'm eating something. But yeah, you always have to remember at pen shows, at stationary events, at, or like just events in general, right? Like seminars and conferences and stuff. Like there's so much happening and they're overwhelming that you don't make the time to hydrate or to eat or, to go outside and get some fresh air. And it's a lot. So, or yogurt. Yes, that's also good. I've been traveling with almonds and breakfast bars. Yeah, I usually bring almonds because they're like a great sort of snack too. I might be weird if I even get a smoking smell. I will shower ASAP. Spicy. So you don't like the smell of smoke. The box breakfasts and lunches at DC were at least convenient. Yeah. So did they provide that as part of like something that you could purchase with your pass or something? Because that's a good idea. At least you have something, right? Especially if it's not as easy to get or stock up on like food items and stuff. Especially if you're traveling. Like when I fly to SF, I'm not going to bring a bunch of food with me because I'm bringing like stationery and all this other stuff. But I do at least remember to bring a few things. But if the place provided sort of like convenient snack-sized food, that's always good, I think. Or it's handy. It's a handy, like you can choose to do that if you want. The breakfast was part of the room reservation, and you could pre-order lunches if you did the weekend pass. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I always eat before, so I'm sluggish and don't buy all the pens. Yeah, because otherwise I won't eat all day. Yeah, that's not good either. Beef jerky is a good protein source too. Yeah, but it smells, Bart. That's a pretty strong, it's a pretty strong smell. I'm just kidding. It's not always, but I know what you mean. Also, it's not something you have to refrigerate, which, you have to kind of keep things, fresh. Oh, you've been like that since you were a kid, spicy. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. A lot of times we react strongly to like smells or, things like that, senses. And so I get it. Although the mall next to the CA show was probably the best. Oh, yes. That, like, I will say at the California Pen Show, having that mall across the street was so convenient. Just to like pop across and get things. Like I got like breakfast items from there and stuff, right? Like buns and whatever, muffins and stuff. But yeah, the food was really good. So that's good to know that like it actually is good food. Because that's like something that, you know, you're not going to base going to, well, I wouldn't base going to a pen show on like what the food is like in the area, but it's like such a great bonus if you can access, you know, really good food, because you're, you know, like on a trip, you're on vacation, or you're traveling, and being able to actually like enjoy the area, you know, food wise, and you're even just getting coffee. I found that I was like, you know, I just kind of feel like, you know, an iced coffee or like a bubble tea and stuff. And at the California Pen Show, I love that, you know, there were all these different options. And just being able to step away from the Pen Show hotel, get out of that area, kind of, you know, that vicinity, and sit down with pen friends and, you know, chat and eat. And it was like just a kind of nice break from like, you're there for a pen show, but also you're there to, you know, to make friends or like get to know people in the community. And yeah, it was kind of nice not having to be at the, you know, like at one restaurant that's in the area, or having, you know, to choose from a handful of places. That's kind of nice. It's a nice change. For sure. So if you are going to any of those pen shows, have so much fun. And does anyone know actually what pen shows they're going to next year? Because I'm having a hard time kind of deciding. I want to, you know, I have a long list of pen shows that I want to go to, or stationary events that I want to go to. But at the same time, I know there's going to be events that will be announced, some new events maybe. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I want to try, you know, new pen shows or pen shows I haven't been to, and stationary events that I haven't been to. And we'll see. We'll see. The California Show bar restaurant is probably the best I've seen. Oh, interesting. I did like that lounge area. I liked that they had like the bar and the restaurant area, and then they had those like couches and like just where you could sort of sit and just have a coffee and relax with people. I like that, like they had a lot of space. Even if I have my car, I much prefer walking options. Yeah. Anything that's close by is just more convenient. Especially if it's like less time that you have to get there. Orlando. Jeez, crafties. Hi, how's it going? Yeah, right? Sneak in there with Orlando Pen Show. I love it. That's awesome. So good. I might go to the LA Pen Show. Yeah, the California Pen Show. You didn't go the last 2 years because you were sick. Oh, that sucks. You're planning on not getting sick. I love that. I love that intention. Yeah. I would love not to be sick for any events, because it's like you take that risk, right? Like when you're booking tickets, like flights and hotel and all those things, you're taking that risk of like, I'm going to be in perfect health or at least be able to, you know, enjoy and be around people. So it sucks. It sucks when health-wise you can't make a show. Yeah. Going outside is very important. Even if you're able to just kind of like step away and, you know, have some quiet space. I I like events where they have like a setup outside, so you can sit outside, enjoy it a little bit. Um, Unless it's like in the dead of winter, but or really hot. That would suck, but you'll be at Atlanta, also Arkansas, but it's the weekend before Atlanta. That would be super, super busy. Yeah. But doable, and then SF. Yes, unless something comes up. Yeah, that's always the, like, let's plan for these things. Next year will be a challenge with the changing of dates. Oh, interesting. Philly, Arkansas, Atlanta. Maybe try for DC and SF. You're gonna be busy, Olive Octopus. I'd love to do LA again, but I don't think I can. I can make that work. Yeah, I don't think I can make California work, or LA in February. I do really want to try to get to the SF Stationery Fest, SFSF, in March. It will be the first year that they're doing it, and I hope that I can teach workshops there, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that I can, and if I do teach workshops there, obviously I will be going. So that will be kind of the yeah. That will be the sign that I'm going to go. But yeah, aside from that, SF pen show in, I guess, August. And maybe Portland again in July. But we'll see. Yeah. That's a small one. I like that it's kind of small. And I like that it seems to be progressing, and it's, getting more, it's getting busier, it's getting more popular, more people are going, I think. So, but yeah, it's like one of those things that have to work in the schedule. So, oh, you're local. Okay. Zodiac, you're planning on California, Baltimore, Chicago, DC, and SF. Yeah, DC and SF. Busy, busy, busy. Atlanta, PNW, and Empire are maybes. Interesting. Yeah, I'll be curious to hear how Empire goes this year. Because it's the same organizers as the California Pen Show. So I think, like, it seems like they sort of have things going, and hopefully the location and everything works too. But we'll see. Let us know afterwards. Report back. Yeah, last time I went, I was quite overwhelmed, so I went outside. Yeah. Gamma, you're aiming for SFSF. Yeah, I want to take one of your workshops. I would love to have you in one of my workshops. Yeah, I know. Speaking of people who are really busy at pen shows, Eric, you are a trooper. I don't know how you do it. It's just like, I teach like a handful of workshops and I'm exhausted. And I have time to walk around the pen show in like limited time, but I have time to walk around at least. But man, I don't know how you, I don't know. I don't know how you do it. Bart, Eric, you guys just like do the shows. I did 8 shows this year and it's just too much. Oh, you used every ounce of vacation time. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, it is kind of like vacation when your friends are there. Kind of. Yeah, that's me at pen shows. I know, it's really tough. Pen shows are vacation. Isn't that wild? Like, it's kind of crazy to think about. You're obviously like, yeah, you have to take the time off to go to pen shows, but you're working at those pen shows. But at the same time, it's like work that you like. Like, you enjoy, I'm speaking for you. But you enjoy, right? Like, you enjoy that. It's an environment you enjoy. There are friends. There are people you like and relate to. And it's a hobby, but at the same time, it's a lot of work. And you're prepping, and I don't know. It's a lot. Yeah, pen shows are my vacation to see friends. That's how I kind of see it too, right? Like, and when you don't, especially if it's for like, a lengthy amount of time, it's kind of like, I miss my friends. Right? You feel the FOMO of not going to events where you can see people that in the community. And especially when you see when people do go to these shows and they're like sharing video and photo and their hauls and stuff like that. I'm just like, I want to be there too. At the Empire show this weekend, I did see that they had like an extensive list of like workshops and seminars and stuff. And then they have some free events. I think Alexandra is doing a coffee chat, which she does on YouTube lives on a monthly basis. And they're super fun. They're just like, chatting about fountain pens and other things. And so, yeah, I like when pen shows sort of do these like, sit down panels and events and seminars and stuff where you can like learn things, but also you can sort of, it's a different vibe from being on the show floor. You don't have to buy things. So you're not getting a haul and spending money, all the monies. I would rather be on a beach in the Caribbean or Costa Rica. Really, Bart? Really? You don't want to be in Portland or Baltimore? You'd rather be, sipping a cocktail on a beach? Yeah, sounds nice. That's impressive, all the workshops you can do. Yeah. I'm looking forward to 3 weekends of pen events this month, though. What? Oh, also, who's going to Pelikan Hubs? Because that's this month. I am going to Pelikan Hubs for the first time this year. But also because it's in the city, like it's closer to Vancouver City, which normally would be like an hour and a half, usually during rush hour traffic. Like, because it's like when people are leaving work and stuff. So usually it would take like an hour and a half or so to get into the city. And I do not look forward to doing that. So I haven't been able to do that for Pelikan Hubs. But this year I'm going to be staying in the city because then the next day I'm hanging out with Karina, who's coming to visit Vancouver. So it's like the first year and maybe the only year, I don't know, when I get to go to Pelikan Hubs. It's October event number 3. Wow. Are they... Yeah. Pelikan Hub. Is it close to... Wait, are you the hub master? I don't know. Or is it like close enough to you to get to? You're going to be the ink master for the Pelikan Hubs? That's awesome. Oh, you're also hub master, Eric? Are you all hub masters? That's awesome. Also a lot of work. Why you're doing pen shows and then you're doing hub mastering. It's a lot of work. But also it's a good time to... I feel like it's a good idea. Like, if you don't get to do meetups, especially with like people you may not know or you don't know personally, so that you don't get to do meetups and stuff. Pelikan Hubs is a great way of sort of like, it's like an authorized, it's like an event aside from like a pen show or something like that, where it's like if you're local to it and you can get to it, it's like less pressure to have to know everyone who's there and stuff, right? Come to Trufe for the hub. Zodiac trying to get more. Bart, are you the hub master? Do you want to hang out with Bart Needle Girl? He'll just troll you the whole time. I'm just kidding. I'm kind of jealous, actually. I wish I lived closer. Yeah, I learned my lesson, not doing mastering next year. Aw, then your hub is lucky to have you, Eric, do it this year because you are going to knock it out of the park. For sure. Jonathan Butler, stationery shop owner, is the Nashville Hub master this year. Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially for bigger cities. I know for Vancouver City, there last year was like 90 to 100 people. This year it's a lot more, probably like 150, closer to 200, something like that. The last I heard. But yeah, it just gets more popular, right? Like as more people are, as more people get into fountain pens, or they realize that there are events near them that they can go check out, regardless of whether you're really into fountain pens. Like you could just be a casual collector or a casual user of fountain pens, or just like stationery and you want to check it out to see what it's about and stuff. Yeah, so the more popular it gets, the harder it becomes to plan, on a certain day to have a lot of people be at one location. Of course, we will tease them right back. Yes, I know. No hub master, I just donate prizes. Oh, that's awesome. So I will be coming. I wish. It's going to be crazy this year. 100 people have been confirmed. Oh, wow. Indy has 66 signed up. What? The most that they've ever had. Yeah, I would be curious to see if there were any hubs that have less people, because I think not only are the confirmed hubs, are they having more signups, but there's new hubs, right? Like there are new hubs that are being added in for this year. So I know even in, city pockets where there are all these sort of micro cities, they'll have hubs too if enough people signed up. So Joe passed on it this year with the shop expansion. Oh, I see. It's like 50% more people. Oh no, it's tough to find a venue. I know, that's what it is, right? Like, yeah, it's kind of fun to have, more people and like have a group of people you can meet and converse with and share, or like do pen sampling and ink sampling and stuff. But at the same time, it's so much to plan. Rumor has it that there's some like things going on with inks. So, I don't know how many more years Pelikan is going to do this. But hopefully everything sorts itself out. It's not too hard. Rumors are correct. Yeah, I have heard some rumors. And that also, like, when things change, in terms of like what you're provided or the amount of people, things like that, where it's like it's not the same as last year, and all of a sudden parameters change, and what you're provided changes and stuff. It's like it's tough to sign up as a I'm just gonna do this, to someone who has to like plan all of the things. The LA Pelikan Hub was insane last year. Oof. It's a lot of people. Went from 30 something to 50 something. Yeah, especially if like 30 something, you could probably find a venue that could work, right? But all of a sudden you get to 50 or more, and then it's like those. And this is what happened in Vancouver last year, is that there were so many people that they had to find a venue, and that was hard. But when they did, then it was like you had to pay for like catering, because now all of a sudden you're talking about a lot of people coming through. And then I think there was, costs associated to that, which it's fine, right? Like it's not like Pelikan Hubs has to be free. But at the same time, it's like these are all things that organizers or hub masters have to take into consideration. And it's a lot of stress. Like it's a lot of planning and a lot of stress to do when you're kind of given like all these people are coming, so plan something. Plan a place for everyone to convene. Oh, have a good one, Miss Marilyn. Thanks for being here. Lots more people into ink, Indy. Yeah, I agree. And Pelikan is one of those brands, right? Like a lot of people know and get into fountain pens through Pelikan, like knowing Pelikan. And so I'm not surprised that like a lot more people are signing up for these events going, oh, let me check it out. Like if there's one in my city, why not, right? Trufe had 120-ish sign up last year. Then the hurricane hit and maybe 25 showed up. Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad for the people who wanted to be part of it and couldn't, right? I see someone getting their first fountain pen every Saturday now. That's awesome. And penabling. I've given out several pens to get people hooked. Indy, that's awesome. Hubmasters get a lot of complaints for their volunteer role, unfortunately. Yeah, I know, it sucks. I've heard too, like, when Hubmasters send out emails or reach out to the people that have signed up and they ask, what is your preference? Like, do a poll. Is your preference this? Or do you have any ideas or things like that, where they kind of ask for help or thoughts, and then people get sort of like very attached to their recommendations and expect that that's how it's going to be. And I think that can cause issues too, where it's like, well, not everyone is going to be happy with what it ends up being, just because you may have to pay for a venue, you may have to you may not have inks or enough inks, or if you didn't sign up then you may not get something, like, so it's just one of those things, like, or if you don't show up then you might not get something after, and I think people get upset about these things, which is kind of like, I'm just looking forward to meeting up with people locally, and it's kind of like a mini pen show event type thing, right? Like, just kind of like go there, hang out, do some pen sampling, ink sampling, and hang out with people for a little bit. Pelikan pens are superior than any other brand. I said what I said. Hot take, Zodiac. It's not a hot take, but it's a your take. As Bart says. You do have a lot of Pelikan pens. I'm actually surprised you're not the Hubmaster. Oh, so funny. And are you taking all your Pelikans to the hub? Like, do you bring them inked so people can try them? Or do you not bring them? Or do you just show them off? I only have one Pelikan. It's an M205. It's very small and beginnerish, but I got it a few years ago when I was kind of, trying out different brands. And I got a good deal. So I was like, yeah, I'll try it. I like it. I don't think it's the best brand, Bart. No, it's a great brand, and I like the quality of it. It was my first in-person pen thing. Yeah, that's how you learned about Pen Cloud. That's awesome. Yeah, it's like going to these sort of like meetups and local, group gatherings and stuff. It's kind of nice because it opens up, to being more involved and going to more local events. And then if, you go to a pen show and the same sort of, people come, it's like I said, it's familiar faces, familiar usernames, right? That's how I recognize people. It's my username. It's like, who are you? I don't know your face, but you're awesome. Yeah, a good idea to try them. My wife is coming with me, so I don't... You don't own any Pelikan pens. You own an M205. That's it. That's it. Maybe one, maybe two. That's it. I love their golden lapis ink. Yeah. I know, Zodiac pens. Bart's gonna have like a trench coat. So if you know, you know. He's got Pelikan pens if you want to try them. But no one say anything. No one out him for Pelikan pens. Golden lapis, that was last year's ink, right? I luckily got a bottle, even though, yeah, I didn't get to go to the hubs, but I did like that ink. I like when they, I mean, I don't, this is my personal take on the Pelikan Hubs. Like, I wouldn't go expecting to get like all kinds of freebies from Pelikan, or, you know, people who, or makers who donate things, or retailers where you might be having these hubs. So for me personally, I'm really excited to go because I want to see, you know, like local friends, local pen friends, and also try out pens and inks, whether or not they're Pelikan, right? Like you can use these meetups to just do general like ink sampling and stuff. Especially if it's someone who isn't super into fountain pens, or they're kind of trying it out for the first time. It's a great, like, you're meeting up with people who probably have more than just Pelikan products. And so it's kind of a good way of like trying different things. And so for me, it's like if I can try out different pens, different, like do some ink sampling, that to me is worth it. So if Bart doesn't bring all his Pelikan pens, it's okay. You bought it online. It is really, really pretty. Yeah. Yeah, I want to try different pens and inks. That's kind of my reasoning for pen shows too, right? Like you're going to see people who are like part of the community who have been using pens and inks for, you know, however long. And they tend to bring, like if you see Olive Octopus tends to bring, you know, ink samples and swatches and papers and stuff like that. And it's like, it's a great time to try all these different things that, you know, you can find out what you like, what you don't like. You can, you know, try out samples, take home samples, and best of all, like meet people who, you know, have tried these things and are willing to share what they have. So yeah, I feel the same way. I just want to try out like different pens and inks and like talk about talk about pens and inks. Whether or not it's like all Pelikan based, or, you know, Columbus, I'm wanting to get a nib grind. Oh, do they have like nib specialists who come to hubs to do nib grinds? Because that would be cool. I assume no, but maybe. But yeah, what kind of nib grind do you want, Indy? Are you talking about the pen show? And I don't know who the nib specialists are going to be at Columbus, but that's always fun too. Plan out your nib grinds. I wish they did, but I don't think so. Yeah, I guess it depends. It depends also on when you do the hubs, because I think it tends to be later in the day usually. I'm carting around at least 50 pounds of nonsense usually. You are. Almost most Saturdays at TGS. Come visit Nashville. Yes, I know. That would be amazing. Yeah, the Columbus show in a few weeks. Not sure what grind, but figured out what pen. That's a start. There you go. I usually figure out what pen, or if it's a nib that I can interchange between pens, because then it's like a little less pressure, because if I'm going to use the one pen and that's it, then I feel like it's a little tougher, because then you have to think about what grinds you would use on the daily, or like enough to warrant getting that grind on the pen. But that's also part of the fun of it, right? Is trying to figure out how you want to customize and personalize a pen to you. I introduced myself as a crazy ink lady. Yeah. It's kind of like, hi, do you want to see ink swatches? And it's like, yeah, the answer is yes. Yes, I do. It always is. I can tell you what I don't want, but knowing what I want is harder. Yes, well, it's good that you know what you don't want, because the last thing you want is to get something because you're like, maybe other people like it, but if it doesn't match your style of writing, or the way you grip a pen, or, what you feel comfortable, or how you feel comfortable using a nib or a pen. Yeah, if I was closer, I know I feel the same way. If I was closer, well, it's just one of those things like, let's do a road trip or fly across and drive down to all these places. But no, Nashville will be one of those places that I would love to visit. We'll see. Maybe one day. One day. We'll see. Yeah. We talked about a lot of things today. Watercolor paints, painting, pen shows, Pelikan Hubs, planners. What else? Pens, nib grinds. I'm thinking an extra fine grind, maybe journaler or needlepoint. Oh yes, you said you have small writing, right? So something, oh yeah, needlepoint for sure. That could be a good one. You could also do, like, if you're thinking a journaler with a medium, or you could also do a journaler with like a fine, or I don't know if it's worth doing it with an extra fine, to be honest, but maybe a fine. I would think you still want to see like variation in whatever grind it is. If it's that kind of grind. But needlepoint obviously is like, you want the finest tip. Your favorite pens are extra fine. Yeah. So you are like a needlepoint type of person, which is awesome. It was really fun when Christine and Adam came up. I'll take you to both stationery shops, pen clubs. That's awesome. There's also paper and ink bars with more calligraphy and art stuff. You general stationery stuff. That sounds like so much fun. You get the stationery tour. And you're like, hop. You can hop from stationery shop to another. I love that. Oh, stationery shop crawl. That's what it is. I was like, what is that word? Where you're kind of like going from, yeah, it's a stationery shop crawl. That's awesome. One day. One of my first Maker's Pen from Pen Addicts St. Jude giveaway. Oh, Indy. Yes, I remember. Brad mentioned that. That's awesome. Do you have it yet, or is it on the way? Has a medium nib, so you're gonna get a grind on it. Yeah. Oh, medium, like a journaler grind is really nice. I like it. It was awesome. Lisa was such a wonderful assess. I even putting up with her bad-mannered pug. Oh no, you have a bad-mannered pug, needle girl. Sounds cute. Yeah, congrats, Cindy. It should be on the way. Okay, that's awesome. Oh, Pixie! That's so cute. I love that. Yeah, Zodiac had, how many, did you have a pen? At least one, as one of the giveaways, from Brad. She gets very excited and thinks she should always be the center of attention. Yeah, they should be. Our pets should be the center of attention. No, I totally get it. It's like, no, not today. Stop it. We're stationary shopping. Oh, Papa J's blue swirly one with flowers on it. Oh, that's awesome. You had two. Wow, that's so generous, Bart. I didn't win any. I just want to say. I'm not salty about it. It's totally fine. I'm happy for everyone who won something because that's not the point, right? But I did really like all the pens that were part of the giveaway. Like just the quality of the giveaways and the quality of the pens that were donated, right, by makers. I thought that was really, really nice. I love flowers and blue and purple inks. That's awesome. I'm so glad it at least is like something that you would use and that you would, value, and there's like memories attached to it now and stuff, right? So it's a special pen. It's a special pen. So it's worth getting a grind on it that you'll like make the most out of having that pen. I won in a previous year, so now I don't enter. Yeah, it was so tempting. I know, especially because there were quite a few. Like, Brad just kept kind of rolling out the giveaways. And you're like, oh, what about this one? I would love to win, whatever. I want to find out who won my orange ebonite pen. Yeah, I do too. I hope they share and tag you because I also want to see. It's funny when people in the community that you recognize win these things because you're like, yay, I'm so happy for you because, I know you'll put it to good use. So when I saw it, I could hear my daughter's eyes rolling from 200 miles away. She thinks I have too many things with dragonflies and flowers. I mean, your name has dragonfly in it. So I don't see how you could have too many. But that's funny. I love that. She's like, oh, another one. No. But like I said, if you at least know what you don't like, right? You can focus on what you do like in terms of pens too. The theme and the kind of pens that you get. So, I'm glad it worked out. That pen was for you. That's awesome. All my clothes have flowers on them. That's awesome. Yay. I love that you're a floral person. You have flowers on your clothes and stuff. That's so cool. Oh, you can see the first name and last initial on the giveaway widgets. Oh, when it announced, like when the winner is picked. Should we take a look and see if we can see it? Let's see. There's a lot going on in this blog. Let's see. Oh, but then I guess unless you know someone's name / username too. Yeah. But yeah, you're right, Lisa. You could see at least the first name and the initial of their last name. Yeah, I think I just looked at this pen. Oh, it's so pretty. That's awesome. I love the swirls. I love the color. The flower is so cute. Yeah. Love that finial. These are like actual flowers, right? They're dried flowers. So cool. I decorated most of my pens with dragonflies and flowers. Oh, you go by Vicky. I'm so glad I didn't call you out. And Idney Dragonflies out. That's awesome. That pen is beautiful. It is gorgeous. It's very, very nice. I love the, like, I like the, I love the whole thing, but like just the way the colors, like there's light, dark, you know, you got some teal in there and some white, but yeah. The Endless Wandering. Thank you so much for following. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Congrats. I'm going to maybe order another nib just to have to swap out. Yeah, I like that the nib is engraved. That's fun too. So you could always leave as is and then have a nib ground to whatever you want. Yeah, swap it in if you want. But let me see which, let's see if I can find, oh, there are links to the giveaways. Here we go. Zodiac, Aries. Oh, this one. Very nice, very pretty. Congrats, Charles. And then, no. And there. Ooh. That is nice. Look at that. Chris. Congrats, Chris. Very, very nice. Love it. I'll ink it and see if I can like a medium nib. If I must. I love that. A medium might be, like, if you are just, like, if you love your extra fines, a medium might be a little too big or a little too broad for you. I laugh because, like, if I want, I have ultra extra fine, which I use specific, like, I have them for specific reasons, but if I want a nib that I can use in, like, a planner and it's going to dry really fast, then I usually go for medium. But to me, medium is like, you know, a really fine nib. So it's just funny. Yeah, get another nib and get a ground. Oh, well, if you go to Columbus, does Penrealm do engraved pen show nibs there? I don't know if Penrealm goes there, but if Kirk does, he sometimes tends to have engraved nibs for those pen shows. So that's another option. You could get like a, you know, another nib that means something, get that engraved, and then you can also swap it out if you need to, or if you want to. M Architect will write like a fine. Oh, interesting. I do like architects more and more now. I use the medium nib for headers in my journal. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, see if or even if it's not like pen show engraved, you could also get like, you know, a different nib with a different design that you like or something and get that engraved too. Yeah. Or get a regular nib. But I do like nibs that I can swap out. And that's how I do custom grinds now, is I'll do it on a nib that I know I can use on multiple pens. So for me, it's like, because if it's, that nib is probably what I'm going to end up wanting to use regardless of what pen it's in. So it's like getting you to use your, you know, various different pens, but always having the nib that you like in it. And that's kind of where like I am at too. So yeah, good to know, and congrats to all the winners. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the pen regardless, like whatever nib you end up putting in there or swapping in. Hopefully, you know, you really enjoy the pen and it works for you and it feels comfortable to write with and stuff. But gorgeous pen. All the pens, actually, all the maker pens, all the pens that were part of the giveaway are awesome. Like what great, you know, what great prizes, and really generous donations. Skogsy had one in here. Did you know this part? Is that why you gave 2 pens? Because Skogsy had 1 pen in here? That's so funny. Great pen. Gorgeous pen. I don't think I looked at I don't think I entered for all of them. Just because like I wasn't paying attention, but yeah, all of them look really cute. Or like really, I'm looking at Hello Piccolo Pocket Fountain Pen. That's why I said it's so cute. Look at this one. Who won this? Enid. Someone won this, and it's a very cute one. I don't know if I would use something like this every day kind of thing, but it's like one of those, you know, I would love to take this to a pen show, right? And be like, look at this pen. Look how cute it is. That would be a pen I would love to try because it's so different and unique too. All the maker pens I would love to try if I haven't already. Very cool. Exactly. Oh, Bart. So funny. I was doing a happy dance when I saw that. Oh, I'm sure, Indy. I'm sure you were like, that is the pen. There was only one giveaway I didn't enter, but I loved all the rest. Yeah, I feel like I didn't enter. Now that I'm looking at the list, I feel like I think I missed out on a few of them, but that's okay. Like I said, as long as, you know, the person who gets them, like, really enjoys them, gets the most out of the pen, that's what's important, right? Yeah, definitely enjoy your stationery. I didn't enter the one that was either a pencil or ballpoint. That's understandable. Why would you enter a ballpoint giveaway? I'm kidding. To each their own. Enjoy all of your stationery. But yeah, if you know that there's something that you're not super into, or you wouldn't get the most out of it, right? Like, why not? Or there's no need to enter if you'd rather not. The baby pen was so cute. Yeah, it's so cute. It's opt-in for each thing. Yeah, all of Octopus. I was thinking the same thing, right? Because previous years it's been like, you know, you spend whatever much, or you donate a certain amount, and then you're entered for all of them, which is cool. But if you do win something that like you might not get the most out of, whereas someone else might, it's kind of like, oh, And I think too, a few people passed on what they did win because, they didn't, they either had something similar or for whatever reason. And that's kind of nice too, right? Like if you do win, it's like, it's a chance thing. So, it's kind of nice if you're not going to get use out of it. Pass it on to someone who might. I'd have been happy with any of them. But yeah, this one is perfect. And it's, you know what it is, Indie 2, it's very particular. Like if you're not into flowers, right? Like there already is kind of like, oh, this might not be your style. Or if the color is something that doesn't, like you're not drawn to, then yeah, again, it might not be for you. So it's really nice that it worked out that way. So I'm happy for you. I can't wait to see what you think of it when you use it and stuff, and what nib you end up being happy with in that pen. And hopefully, people will sort of share that they got these maker pens on social so that I can see. So that so that we can kind of see and congratulate and stuff. So, but if you did win, congratulations, and I hope that you enjoy flowers and blue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that combination, of like a pen being that color. It's kind of like when you're buying pens, like when you go to a pen show, it's not like you're going to acquire all of the pens that are there, as much as you might want to. At some point, you kind of have to narrow down to the colors that speak to you, the styles that you're drawn to, and even like the size of the pen makes a difference, right? Like all these things that we talk about as pen people, at the end of the day, like even if it's something that you win a giveaway or it's given to you for free or whatever the case is, or someone gifts it to you, it's like if it's not your style, then you're not going to use it. Like you're not going to pick it up, even if it was a gift or whatever. It's just going to kind of sit there, and at least with this pen you can admire it. It's like it's a good looking pen, as much as you can also get some use out of it. But I'll share for sure when I get it. Okay, awesome. Yay, I can't wait. Lately I'm moving from blue to purple, but blue is still fave. Yeah. I feel like I'm moving from blue to green. That's kind of interesting. Because it's not so different, but I'm not technically a green person. Like I'm not that into green. I'm like blue, teal is probably as close to green as I would normally get. But as I say this, I'm wearing green. But yeah, purple I can see too. I've been trying to use a lot more purple inks than I have in the past. So I'm also a blue person that's trying to branch out to different like shades and different colors too. My fave pen so far was a gift. It writes so perfect for me. That's awesome. Yay. And it writes perfect for you too. That's really awesome. Green I'm picky about. Yeah, it has to be the right shade. Yeah, I think it's kind of like that as well. I like forest green and I also like olive green. So I don't know how that works together. But maybe not like bright green, like green apple or something like that. I don't know. Isn't that interesting how like even if you're into a color, it's like shades of that color maybe, and certain shades of the color that you're not drawn to? Because I'm the same with purple. As much as I've tried to branch into purple inks, typically it's more like darker purple or more saturated purples. Green pens are the hardest to sell. Interesting. Yeah, maybe it's because of like the shade of green is like specific to, if you like green, it's like a specific shade of green or something. It's interesting. Oh, olive octopus. Yeah, emerald green. There are different, yeah, there are certain shades, I think, with the exception of the three olive martini. Yeah, the olive martini is a nice blank though. But again, I think, like for me personally, it's like I like the off green or like, sort of the olive, like, um, yeah. I don't know if it's like green, green, maybe, or light green. Not so much. So, no, no baby green. Avocado green. Yeah. That's a darker shade, right? Like, that's okay. Let's see. What other greens? Like the green inks that I have, I think they're very particular shades. Um, yeah, you know what? It's like the lighter greens I'm not a huge fan of. Or at least I'm not like super drawn to it. Emerald, it's okay, but I think I like the darker shades or like like I said, all like olive green, because that's more like yellowish brown. Like you can get kind of like off greens from that, which I like. uh, Too funny. Private Reserve avocado. Hunter green. Ah. It's soon Christmas and all the festivities. Yeah, I have one green to recommend. My palette makes everything look darker. I'm thinking about a retro line for 2026. Ooh, avocado green and harvest gold pens to match 1970 appliances. Oh, interesting, Bart. That's awesome. Avocado green would be nice, I think, for sure. Diamine Holly. I think I had a sample of this and I did enjoy it. Holly. Yeah, wow. That is very Christmassy. Or, yeah. Yeah, lots of. I like the description. Holly is a dark green with lots of sheen. For sure. It's a dark green. I like that. There we go. Indy hated the green from the 70s appliances. Yeah, like more yellow greens or more blue greens. Yeah. Ooh, Ponderosa Pine. Yeah, that's nice. There's an idea. Oh. That's the one that showed it to you once. Yeah, okay, it could be spicy. I do like the Golden Ivy ink. Got a big bottle of it. Golden Ivy. Oops. Ooh. Nice. Medium green. It looks a little darker too when you're writing with it. Yeah. That's not too bad. Your experience with green is limited, Spicy. Yeah. I would probably agree with that too. Yeah. You need to get your 70s yellow tub shower redone. Classic, right? The tile isn't great, but I kind of like the tub. Yeah. It's wearing out. I know. It's aging out a little bit. Enjoy it while you can. the vintageness. The vintageness of it. Sabi Midori is wild. You wish you could be as handy as Lisa. I wish that too. I wish I did more renos. I want to do more DIY around the house, but yeah. Oh, I like the shade. Spicy. That's nice. It kind of reminds me of Taisho Roman Gentle Green. It's kind of this, yeah, sort of this dark green that dries actually a little bit darker. So similar to this. When you're writing with it, it's a little bit more green than the way it dries. It dries a little bit darker, which I was like, that's very interesting. It changes wildly on paper. That's awesome. Yeah. Very interesting. I've been doing a lot of plumbing, but I'll need help with the full bathroom. Yeah. Yeah, if you need a permit, for sure. You want someone else to deal with that. If it's something, you know, you can change, then that's not so bad. Some paper it's teal and some paper it's blue. Oh, yeah. That's more of a gray blue. Yeah. I can see how it would look different on different papers that you're using too. It's blue and it dries to teal. Yeah, that's very similar to Gentle Green, except it's sort of, when you're writing with it, it looks well, now I have to try it. I forget if it looks bluer and then it dries greener, or if it looks greener and then dries bluer. It's one of those. But yeah, it's one of those interesting ones where you're like, oh, okay, I didn't expect this. Yeah, those two are similar. Okay. Also, the Wet Pen Gasworks Park. Oh, they vary from teal to more green, but similar vibes. Yeah. Spicy. Money would solve some of your problems. I agree. Being handy saves a lot of money. Yeah. Ah, bluer and bottle. Okay. So that's kind of, that is interesting because, you know, especially if you're buying it because it's going to be bluer, or it's going to be blue, and then it tends to be a little bit greener. Oh, on Earful. Yeah. That is a little bit different. Oh, I see. On Earful, you're getting blue. I think this, yeah, you can kind of see in here. It does show variants based on the paper. For sure. And then even this one, like where it's written to the swatch, like those, to me, when I first looked at them, I was like, those look like two different shades, right? But so interesting. I'm a big fan of teal. Yeah, I like teals too. Ah, yes. Yeah, Ternishi. It starts out as a bright blue that dries green with some red sheen, right? It's crazy. It's kind of wild how it does that. But it ends up with a dark teal color. So weird. It's so interesting. When I first tried that ink, I did not expect that. And I was like, what is happening? It looks different as I'm writing it, and then it dries slightly, you know, a different shade. Yeah. Oh, are they the same company? Or are they made by the same parent company? Oh, pick 2 is a video. Aha. Aha. That's useful. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. So weird. And you can see as it's drying. How crazy. That's insane. Wow. Like you can literally see it as it's drying. It's changing shades. Ternishi makes Tasha. Okay, so that kind of makes sense then. But they are, if they're slightly different in terms of what color they dry as, then you can kind of decide on which ink you'd prefer. Sabe Midori sheens a lot. It's beautiful. Yeah. Interesting. Very, very cool. Yeah, same parent company. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I should bounce. I have to go make lunch. But this was so fun. Thanks so much for joining and for all the chatting. I loved it. It was so much fun. I got to at least paint with my watercolor paints, which I haven't done in a while because fountain pennings, which is fine, but also, you know, I wanted to dig out my watercolor paints and try them out. And then I remembered how fun shimmer paints are. As fun as shimmer inks can be when you're painting with them. But yeah, loved chatting about all the other things too. And 3 hours straight review is long, right? Feels like we're just talking and talking, which it's kind of like a hangout. It's a meetup. Yeah, I do try to stream shorter sometimes. It just depends on my day, what else I need to get done. You stop putting shimmer in your pilot. Yeah. I first saw Swatch and hunted out Genta Green from the Tacho account. Didn't realize the connection until years later. That's so funny. Yeah. I know. It's not like they make it super obvious either, right? And you're just like, wait, these are somewhat similar. And then you kind of, if you dig into the names and who is the parent company and stuff like that, maybe you'll figure it out. But it's not super obvious. Yeah, I'm so glad you could make it for a while and chat too, because that's also like if you're lurking because you have to work or whatever, you have meetings and things going on, life. It's also, but either way, if you can be here, I'm grateful. I'm happy. And if you can watch the replay or the VOD, then hopefully you find this interesting. Hopefully it feels like a hangout and we're just kind of playing with our stationery and having fun. And then talking about inks and all the things, which is awesome. You're in the office trying to be subtle. You're like, ooh, we're talking inks though. Yeah, I know. Um, Way to be incognito. But yeah, it was fun. So I will see you in a stream next week probably, and also we'll try and make all of Octopus's streams, even though they're early, but I love them because they're so chill and a great way to start the day. And hopefully later, when Brad streams tomorrow, and then throughout the week, see each other in streams. But I hope, oh, you're back from the Dollar Tree as I'm signing off. Well, I hope you had a fruitful visit to the Dollar Tree. It's always fun going there because you always find little things, and they're cheap. So I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope that you make some time to play with stationery. And yeah, I'll see you in the next stream. And elsewhere. I'm sure online, elsewhere. Go find it at the Dollar Tree. Awesome. Okay, I'll see you friends later. Have a great day. Okay, appreciate you all. Thanks for being part of the community. Bye.